Hello, I'm Lara, astrology addict, and I'm going to be discussing today mental chemistry, which is a theory in astrology attributed to Mark Edmund Jones, having to do with how quickly someone takes in information and processes it depending on their chart. So there are four types, and they are deliberate, anxious, balanced, and balanced. There are two different balances. And they all depend on the position of Mercury relative to their sun on their natal chart and the relative speed of their moon on the day of their birth. So, deliberate is when your Mercury is behind the sun and your moon is slow. And that means that you take in your information in the world around you very slowly and carefully and deliberately, and you process it slowly and carefully. And this isn't necessarily a bad thing. This can be a very good thing in some situations, or a lot of situations. So when you say your Mercury is behind the sun, that means that position-wise, the Mercury is after the sun. And I'll show an example of that later. And your moon being slow means it's slower than average at the day of your birth. So the moon moves on average within 24 hours at a speed of 13 degrees and 10 minutes in those 24 hours. So if your moon is moving slower than that on the day of your birth, that means, or this moon's apparent speed at the time of your birth is slower than 13 degrees, 10 minutes, and 24 hours, then that means it's slow. And so, yeah. The anxious type is when your Mercury is ahead of the sun, which means it is positioned before the sun in your chart, and it is your moon is moving faster than average on the day of your birth. And it means you take in information quickly and you process it quickly. This can be a good thing and a bad thing. So in the two different balances, one has Mercury behind the sun with the fast moon, and one has Mercury ahead of the sun with a slow moon, and you can read here how it changes or what it means. So I'm going to show you how to figure it out in your own chart. So I'm going to pull up two charts here. This one and this one. These belong to my friends. So let's start here with her chart. So she was born on the 21st of September, 1996. So to figure out this, I'm going to figure out the speed of her moon, the relative speed of her moon first. So pull up astro.com and you hover over All About Astrology and click 9,000 Years Ephemeris. And she was born in the 20th century in 1996. And you do that the same way for your year. So an ephemeris shows the positions at midnight universal, is that what universal time? The position of each planet and luminary at that exact time on each day. So she was born on September 21st. So let's go to the table for September 1996 and go down to the 21st. So at midnight on this day, the moon is positioned 5 degrees and 9 minutes in Capricorn. And the next day, it's positioned 19 degrees and 22 minutes still in Capricorn, because the sign, you see how it changes. You can see the sign here. It's the same sign because you don't see a sign in between them. I don't know if that made sense, but okay. So that means that she was born sometime between these two positions. And if you look at her chart, her moon is 17 degrees in Capricorn. So that's within 19 degrees and 5 degrees. So you have to subtract them to see how much the moon has, how many degrees the moon has gone through in those 24 hours. So you're going to take 19 degrees, this is terrible, but in 22 minutes, and subtract that from 5 degrees in 9 minutes. And if you are good at math, you know that you can't subtract minutes from each other when you're talking about angles. So you should convert your degrees in minutes into decimals so you can subtract them. So that's what you can just Google a converter, and so 19 degrees and 22 minutes converts to 19.37 degrees. And if you don't know what's going on right now, just trust me, just follow the steps and you're golden. And then 5 degrees in 9 minutes is 5.15. And now you can subtract these and have my calculator just casually do it like this. So that's 14.22 degrees. So I said earlier that on average in 24 hours the moon goes through 13 degrees in 10 minutes. And if we just stick that in here, 13, that is 13.17 degrees. Again, if you don't know what's going on, just follow the steps that I'm doing. Okay. So this speed is faster than this speed because the moon goes through 14 degrees in 24 hours on this day, on her birthday, and it on average goes through 13 degrees in 24 hours. So that means she has a fast moon. And now we're going to look for her Mercury. You see, her Mercury is the symbol that has a circle across and then a thing on the top. And the sun is the circle with another circle on the inside. So her Mercury is 20 degrees in Virgo, and her sun is 29 degrees in Virgo. So that means that her Mercury comes before her sun, and that means her Mercury is ahead of the sun because of the number being smaller. If her sun were in Libra, it would be, if her sun were 5 degrees in Libra, even though the 5 is smaller than 20, it's still in the sign before, so it's still before. So she has her Mercury ahead of the sun. So let's go back to my notes. So her Mercury is ahead of the sun, so she's either anxious or the second balanced. And she has a fast moon, which means she's anxious. So that means that Rena takes in information quickly and she processes it quickly. And that means an yes. Okay. So let's look at another chart that has a different setup. So his chart, he was born on the 28th of March, 1997. So let's go back to this page and go to 1997 and go down to the month of March. So 28th of March. It says here that on midnight on the 28th, it is 20 degrees and 34 minutes in Scorpio. Okay, so it's 20 degrees, 34 minutes in Scorpio. And on the next day on midnight, it is 3 degrees and 25 minutes in Sagittarius. So what do we do? Because the moon transits into a different sign. Well, what you should do is add 30 to this smaller number, the number, the position of the within the new sign. And if you don't understand why, it's kind of hard to explain, just trust me. But it's yeah. So this is going to turn into 33 degrees and 25 minutes. And we're going to do the same process of conversion. Okay. So 20, 34. So that means it's 20.57 degrees in Scorpio. And then $33.42 degrees. And as you know, this would give you a negative number, but you can disregard the negative. And if you don't know why, just trust me. So calculator, that is 12.85 degrees. So on the day of his birth, the moon is going at a speed of 12.85 degrees per 24 hours. And if we look back, the average is 13.17. So that number is smaller than that number, which means that he has a slow moon. And let's look back at his chart at his Mercury position. So his Mercury is 24 degrees in Aries, and his Sun is 8 degrees in Aries. So that means that his Mercury comes after his Sun, which means it's behind the Sun. Because the number is larger. His Mercury number position is larger. So that means he has his Mercury behind the Sun and a slow moon, which means he is of the deliberate type, which means he takes in information slowly and he processes it slowly, which is not a bad thing. I know it sounds kind of bad, but it's not. So that covers it. If you have any questions, you can send them my way. I hope this made some degree of sense. If you don't understand the math, I know it's like, if you don't understand, because I didn't really explain it very well, if you don't understand, just follow the steps and you'll figure it out. And if you have any questions, you can just shoot me and ask. And yeah, that's just about it. So yeah, thank you. Okay, thank you.